Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the EFL Betting Show. My name is Matt Hill, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host and esteemed EFL expert, Mr. Gab Sutton, to take a look ahead to the upcoming weekend's action from across the Championship, League One and League Two, and hopefully point you in the direction of some winning bets. Now, before we get into it, it's worth just saying, please do gamble responsibly and only gamble what you can afford to lose. Keep it fun and all the likes. Now, Gab, last week you put up the biggest treble in EFL Betting Show history. Normally, our trebles, for reference, land somewhere between like 9 and 15 to 1. Gab went all out for a 455 to 1 treble. I tell you, I was out and about on Saturday, and I got back in my car at 4:15 and looked at the results, and I thought, oh my Lord, this is going to come in, because you had Sheffield United to draw 0-0, which I think it was at the time, obviously, and your other two picks look fantastic as well. And then I think Callum O'Hare scored for Sheffield United, didn't he? And suddenly, just like that, the dream was dead. But look, it was a fine effort from yourself. I noticed, having seen your selections before the viewer, that you've got a little bit more back to basics this week. But we don't mind a bit of ambition on this show, Gab. So good on you for trying, and it was a mighty fine effort.
Yeah, I looked at half time and I was like 0-0 at Oxford, drawing at Northampton because I had the half-time full-time draw Bolton, and then and then the other one was going my way as well in League Two. So I was very close.
It was MK Dons -2, wasn't it? And they were 2-0 up.
Yeah. And they were 2-0 up, exactly. So I was very close. And then all of a sudden, Shrewsbury got one back. Northampton scored their goals. Sheffield United scored, and it looked a lot worse. But
the wheels fell off.
Half an hour away from possibly landing a 455 to 1. So a decent effort, but no cigar.
Yeah, good points. Points for trying anyway. For me, it was the same old story as it's been all season, really. 1 out of 3. I've still not had a full house. I've had lots of 1s and 2s. QPR to beat Sheffield Wednesday, I think that ended level. Stockport to beat Reading in over 2.5 goals. It was 1-1 with 20 minutes left. I thought we were set up for the winner there, but couldn't find that way through. But Swindon did indeed beat Bromley. And Gab, I believe we had a £5 charity bet on that game. You quite fancied Bromley double chance. Swindon got the job done for me, and I will tell the viewers that Gab kindly donated £5 to Mind on my behalf. So top man for that, Gab, and I'm sure we'll have a few more of them before the season is out. Well, if you're watching the EFL Betting Show for the first time, welcome along. We basically try and keep it nice and tight within about half an hour of listening, and we're going to whiz through the Championship, League One and League Two with myself and Gab offering up a selection from each division, where we'll just have a little bit of chat about how we got there and try and pick each other's brains on them. And then we'll recap at the end. And in terms of tracking, what we'll do is we'll put a 1 point stake on each of our singles and a half a point on our respective trebles. If you stay tuned to the end of the show, we will do a full recap with some graphics of our respective bets. So, Gab, let's get into it then. I'm going to chuck you straight in, and we're going to go into the Championship, where you are back in Southampton to get the better of Derby 6-5. This game is at Derby. Tell us a little bit about why you've landed on this, because Southampton, obviously anti-post betting-wise, they were second or third favourites. It's been a slow start for Will Still, I'm sure, by his own admission. Maybe some signs that they're just coming to the boil now.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a really encouraging performance from Southampton against Middlesbrough, who are the current league leaders. So that's one of the big reasons why I'm kind of inclined to go with the Saints. I think they've got a really good selection of centre forwards, which is an obvious help. And I also think if you look at this from a budgetary perspective, Derby have a bottom 6 budget, I think, and for Southampton, it's certainly top end. So certainly there's a difference in terms of individual quality. And I think if you combine that with Southampton are starting to show signs of coming to the boil, and Derby possibly they're struggling to maybe deliver the form that we're expecting from them this season. With all those things considered, I think it's pretty good value. I've got 59-50 on Southampton winning. Granted, it's an away game. I think there's often a rule in betting that you don't back EFL betting. You don't back the away team at odds on. Because the EFL is so unpredictable. So to get it at 59-50, I think is a good price, and I'm pretty happy to go with that.
Yeah, and just sort of drilling down on this a little bit, Gab. Obviously, Southampton. I touch on the slow start there. What do you think has been the main issue for that slow start and maybe not hitting the heights many expected of them at the start of the season? Do you think it is just that transitional effect with a new manager trying to embed his style of play, or is it more deep than that?
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of players as well, and to incorporate, and I think that's been a challenge for Will still. But they've got some top end Championship players. Like you look at the top of the assists column last season, Tom Fellows, the right winger, who's very direct and likes to get crosses in, was at the top of that. Also Finn Azaz, who was fantastic in spells for Middlesbrough as well. And then they've got a really nice collection of forwards, like Adam Armstrong's playing off the left at the moment. They've got Ross Stewart, who scored goals at this level with Sunderland. Even somebody like Jay Robinson, who's come through the academy, is very exciting. Cameron Archer. So they've got a really good collection of strikers. And Shay Charles as well at the base midfield, I think, is an enormous talent. And so, yes, it's just taken a little bit of time for them to acclimatise, but I'm pretty confident that that they're going to come to the fore. And the other thing I quite like is they've got a right back in Ronnie Edwards, who's really a centre half by trade, and Fellows and Manning can sort of sometimes operate a bit like wing backs on either side as well. So they've got that flexibility in the system, with Armstrong pushing into the second striker position to link up with Stewart and Azaz in the 10. So, yeah, I think they're a good side. And I think that, the victory at Sheffield United, the performance against Middlesbrough, it all points to a team that's possibly heading in the right direction.
Okay, then. Southampton to beat Derby 6-5 is Gab's opening selection of this week's EFL Betting Show. That is with BetMGM. Over to me then for the Championship, and I'm going to plump for a bigger price. I'm going to take an away team like Gab. I'm going to go for Stoke to beat Blackburn here, just shy of 2-1 here with BetMGM 19-10 available currently. I think the price has suckered me in here, to be honest. I'm getting a bit worried about Blackburn, can't lie. It's just getting a little bit uneasy for me. Obviously succumbed to a home defeat against Swansea last time out, where they did lead that game. Todd Cantwell has been probably the bright light, I would say, for them going forward, and he did open the scoring there. But another disappointing defeat that follows a 3-0 defeat away at Charlton, where they were miles second best in that one. And I think you do have to mention, it's important, it's not reflected in their points tally, but Blackburn did have a potentially really morale-boosting win come in against Ipswich. They were 1-0 up at home to Ipswich. Ipswich down to 10 men in the 80th minute. And for those who haven't followed the story, the game was abandoned, and the EFL have actually ruled that they're going to play that game again from the start with no advantage given to Blackburn, which I'm sure if you're a Blackburn fan, you're feeling pretty sour about that. And there are other instances where exemptions have been made in similar circumstances. So it's a difficult one for the EFL. Everyone is never going to be happy in a situation like that, but I feel Blackburn maybe a tad hard done by. And that kind of to have that kind of thing happen and then lose 2 games after it, morale has got to be pretty low around the camp. Obviously, Valerian Ismail in charge there. He has proven to be a somewhat effective Championship manager at times, but I think his style is probably not the best on the eye. And they're looking a little bit lost going forward for me at times. They're not creating an awful lot of chances. They're coming up against the joint best defence in the Championship at the moment in Stoke, who obviously flew out of the blocks. Things have just curtailed a little bit in recent weeks. But I think when you're giving yourself that defensive platform, it really does give you a great chance in games. They've only conceded 6 goals in the Championship this season, which is the joint best record, as I say, alongside league leaders Middlesbrough. So I think there's a lot to like about Stoke in this kind of game against a team that are struggling to create. Sorry, just knocked my microphone out there. Against a team that are struggling to create, when they already have this resolute back line. The worry for me would be whether Stoke can fashion the chance to win this. But I just find myself suckered in by the price, Gab. Like I say, if Stoke were 6-4, I would probably think that's about right. But I think at nearly 2-1, that just seems really big for a team who are enjoying a good season, 3rd in the league, morale is high, against a team who are looking like potentially in a bit of free fall here in Blackburn. So, yeah, I'm going to take a chance on the away side at just shy of 2-1.
Yeah, do you know what I really like about Stoke, Matt, is that they've seemed to have reached a kind of maybe a slightly more peaceful calm place, because you remember a couple of summers ago where they signed like 19 players and brought in lots of players from across the continent and invested in lots of young players. And then, they had a period with someone like Narcis Pelak that didn't really work out. And they've gone for a very reliable manager in Mark Robbins, which I think always helps, because I think Robbins is a safe pair of hands. And also the fact that they've not gone crazy in the recruitment recently means that they've basically given some of those investments a bit of time to settle in. So somebody like Tatsuhiro Seko, I think has really sort of bedded in. Now he's adjusted to a new country. I think we're seeing the left back Eric Bocat reach another level. Bosun Lawal was a really nice investment. I think I was very impressed with him in the division below with Fleetwood a couple of seasons ago. Junior Chamadou as well. So it feels like a lot of their investments. Million Manhoof, the winger, would be another example. And I also really like the signing of Divin Mabama on loan from Manchester City, who didn't even start at Middlesbrough last time out. And I don't know if I mentioned, but in that game they had clearly the better chances, and that was away to the league leaders.
Yeah, it was a really good performance.
Exactly, yeah. So just to amplify your point there about Stoke, some concerns about Blackburn, but also reason to believe in Stoke City, which I know I've been burnt by that because I've gone with Stoke in the past and they finish 16th every year, but I think they're hopefully about to break that curse.
It does feel, and not just results-based, this, Gab, but it does feel like Stoke as a club, they're in the best place they've been for a long time, doesn't it? I know you kind of touched on that malaise and some left field managerial appointments didn't really work out, but like you say, a safe pair of hands. Feels like they're playing a brand of football that's sustainable as well. Like, they're not trying to blow teams away, and they're not over-reliant on flair players, and they've just got a really good base that they're building off. And I think when you are that kind of team, you're probably looking at this kind of game, a trip to Blackburn, who are struggling a little bit, and thinking you can get 3 points here. And yeah, like I say, it's all about the price for me. 6-4, it would probably be where I would have it. So yeah, at 19-10, it's a bet for me. So Stoke to beat Blackburn, my pick in the Championship. That is also with BetMGM, both of our Championship picks. They are top price. So off into League One then, and back over to yourself, Gab. You're going to go for Plymouth Argyle, who made a very sluggish start to the season, but they're now up and running, finding their feet very much so. They're always a dangerous force on their own patch, and they're hosting Wigan Athletic here. 8-5 about Plymouth looks a big price.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if part of the reason is for the prices, maybe the traders feel like they've lost 6 of their first 10 despite being in good form, but and a kind of perceived inconsistency perhaps. But one thing that I would say is actually, if you look at their last 4 performances, it's actually really encouraging. So they beat Stockport County 4-2 at the start of September, because they went into September off the back of a really poor start to the season in terms of results. But they beat Stockport 4-2. They then won 3-2 at Luton with a real Baxter Wall performance. They lost 1-0 at home to Peterborough, but that was like one of those, how did they not win that game?
Like 25 shots to 3 or something, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And then I saw them win 4-0 at Burton Albion. And, although Burton were possibly the better side in the first 20 minutes, after then, Plymouth Argyle absolutely dominated. And I spoke to Chris Cooper after the game, who said, been one of the best away performances he can, in recent years for Plymouth Argyle. So from that point of view, I think it's starting to come together. I think we can make some allowances for their poor start with the fact that it's a very young team, and B, it's just been thrown together. So, there's been change upstairs, it's a new head coach, it's massive turnover of players, lost so many key players, and new dynamics are still being formed. But they've always carried the threat, I think since Laurent Talladge came in at the end of the window, he was lethal last week, Matt. He constantly stretching the last line, and so potent. Love a really cool finisher as well.
He's got a great, just on Talladge, he's got a great range of skill set, hasn't he? It's just like you look at him and you think he's going to be a big target man, but he's got a lot more to his game than that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great that he's got that extra bit of physicality about him, because
probably why he did so well in League Two last season as well, because he could handle the physical aspect of it as well.
Sure, exactly. So you've got him on the last line, linking up with Owen Essene. Bradley Ibrahim's just been delightful so far this season. And Tom Cleverley is something I think he does really well, actually giving players freedom and not necessarily limiting them too much within a system. So he'll let Bradley Ibrahim really express himself. And then Law McCabe on loan from Middlesbrough is a really class act, and such an assured operator in midfield, and very mature head on young shoulders. And then the back three starting to come together as well, with Matthias Ross moving into the middle. So I could go through the whole 11 here, Matt, but they were fantastic at Burton Albion, and I think that's the kind of performance that could really be a springboard for them to climb the table. They're up to 15th now, and I expect them to be in the playoff pack.
Just to strengthen your argument further, Gab, as well, on the opposition, Wigan, as much as they've done okay this season, and they are actually a place above Plymouth in the early standings, away from home, winless in 5. So all of their good work has been done at the DW. So yeah, just another one where, you know, you've got a poor travelling side going all the way down to Plymouth, who are traditionally very good at home as well. There was a lot of boxes ticked with this bet, and I think the price, there's definitely one I can see shortening up between now and Saturday kickoff. Yeah, I think 8 to 5 looks great value with Betfred. Over to me then for League One. I'm keeping things quite simple here. The biggest favourites in the division this weekend are Bolton at home to Peterborough. I'm going to back them to lead at half-time and full-time here at 23 to 20. I think they can make a quick start here against the posh side, who have just looked ragged defensively. And there's not a lot of good going on at Peterborough, to be honest. And I think now might just be starting to worry that they've got a relegation battle on their hands, as much as I don't expect to hear them noises coming out, you know, from the likes of Darren McAnthony, who's always very bullish with his predictions and stuff. And he definitely sees Peterborough as a League One pushing championship club, which is fair enough. But I think right here, right now, they look to be in a bit of trouble. Concerns at both ends of the pitch, but particularly defensively for me. I think they've shipped 18 goals already this season, which has got to be a massive concern. And you're going up against a Bolton side who, although they're not, they're up there at the top of the league right now, I think they are one of the best sides in this division and just have so many interesting attacking outlets and so many likely goal threats that this just looks like a match made in heaven for me. I find myself like looking at ways to get Bolton on side. And Gab, I know in the punters panel, which will be going live on oddsnow.com tomorrow morning, you gave a solid shout for backing Bolton on handicaps as well, and backing over goals in this game as well. So I'm guessing you kind of agree with me on how this one might pan out.
Yeah, I think Bolton are definitely better than the 11th best team in the league. I think they've been creating a lot of chances. They've been hamstrung a bit, Matt, by drawing a lot of games. But a lot of those games they've sort of been the better team in, like Lincoln at home, just as an example. And they've not quite found that extra bit, maybe the finishing side. But Amario Cozy-Dubry on the right, I'm a big fan of. They brought in Marcus Forss, who I think is going to give them a bit more firepower in those attacking areas. I think their midfield options, like every game, they're going to have one or two really good midfielders on the bench, because they've got Aaron Morley, they've got Simmons, they've got Ethan Arahan, like top League One midfielders who would be guaranteed starters for anyone else. So Bolton Wanderers, I'm pretty confident that they're going to do the business. I wouldn't put anyone off the -2 handicap at 3 to 1, but you can also do it your way and go 23 to 20 with a half-time, full-time.
Yeah, the reason I've leaned towards a half-time, full-time is because you are taking a risk in that you need the team to start quickly or it's over. But I just feel like this Peterborough side, they're gonna give chances away quite regularly. I don't really see a world where Bolton don't go through this first half with all their attacking talents and not create 3 or 4 really good chances. And like I say, there's also an element of confidence in the Peterborough ranks when they go one behind, given their recent plight. Do they have the confidence to sort of bounce back and turn this around? And I agree with you. I think the handicaps are worth a little look as well. It's not every 1 to 2 favourite that you want to be backing on a handicap, but I think this could be one of them where it could well pay dividends, and it could be a fairly comfortable afternoon for Bolton. But we shall see. The bet for me is Bolton half-time, Bolton full-time versus Peterborough at 23-20. That's best price with Star Sports, although there are 5 or 6 bookmakers offering the exact same price. So do shop around. Make sure you get the value. Into League Two then to round things off this week. Gab, over to you first. New manager in at Cheltenham. By God, does this club need a lift? I'm guessing by your bet and fancy on this game that you're thinking that lift will come. You're going to back them. Draw no bet versus Fleetwood at 5-4 with Bet365. And just for anyone who's not aware, the draw no bet option means basically if the game finishes in a draw, your stake will just be returned. And the same thing for Gab's treble. It will just become a double. It'll be like this game doesn't exist if it finishes a draw. But yes, Gab, you're fancying Cheltenham to, get up and running in the new era.
Well, I've got a funny story before I start on the match, Matt, which is I'm at a wedding in Cheltenham tomorrow, and there's the service is in Gloucester at like 1:00, and the reception and the sort of the party, the disco and whatever, is actually held just outside Cheltenham. I think later on, and there's like a gap between the service and the reception, so
right. You're gonna try and go to the game.
I know, yeah. So let's see if I can sneak in. You never know whether the stars align on that one.
I think you probably can actually. But given all those timings, I'd give you a decent shot. But yeah, I wouldn't like to bet on it.
No, exactly. So the reason why I'm going with Cheltenham on this one, you could also, I've gone with the draw or no bet here because I don't want to go too radical on the new manager appointment, which I'm going to put that theory forward because I recognise that Cheltenham are coming into this game off the back of one of the worst home performances that lots of fans have seen in recent memory, and the most goals they've conceded in a game since 2011, and those are different games, right? So they lost 3-0 at home to Oldham in Michael Flynn's last game and 7-1 away at Grimsby last time out in the interim stint. But Steve Cottrell is a club legend at Cheltenham Town. He won 3 promotions with the club in his first stint and the FA Trophy with Robins. And even since he left in 2002, he's only ever managed at higher levels than League Two. So there's a great appointment from a sentimentality point of view, and actually a pretty good appointment just from a pedigree point of view anyway. But I definitely think the fact that his relationship with the club and the fact that he's considered their greatest ever manager is going to give the club a lift. It's going to galvanise the fan base. And he's like a commander general on the sideline, Steve Cottrell. So I think it's going to certainly fire up the players as well. So I'm absolutely banking on a vastly improved performance from the last 2 games. And I think the club are going to rally. But again, I think that I've gone with the draw no bet because it gives you some flexibility in case it's improved, but they've still got some work to go. Although I wouldn't necessarily put people off going with Cheltenham at 11-5 because I do feel like with this one, the traders haven't put enough on I think they've looked too much on what Cheltenham have served up recently and even all season, which is understandable, and maybe not enough on the situational context, which is Steve Cottrell and the impact I think he's going to have home to a mid-table Fleetwood.
Yeah, okay. I do definitely see that, and yeah, you talk about club legends and stuff, and this is the kind of stuff that is so hard to quantify, isn't it? Like, what does that value actually equate to? And
but do you remember when Simo came back in 2020?
This is where I was going, and then you can't put from the outside that might just look like new manager might improve, but sometimes you can't put a value on lifting the club with the arrival of someone who just unites everyone, particularly when you've been through a bad patch and there's been divisions in the fan base, divisions in the club. It just instantly kind of repairs that. Maybe not repairs it, but glosses over it almost, okay, well, let's just get behind the new manager because we all love him. And I think, a home game is perfect when you've had that kind of thing, because you just know that all will be kind of forgiven. And I think it's really, I put myself in the shoes of somebody pricing this game up. You've got that in the back of your mind, haven't you? That they may well be a different team here, but you have to kind of price them on what you think and what you've seen in the last few weeks. So I always think these angles are interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Fleetwood are definitely the sort of team that if the opposition make the first mistake, they can look like a very well-oiled machine and a very solid team that doesn't give much away, and can hit teams on the counter-attack and create, a handful of big opportunities that way and look pretty solid. But then if they're the ones that make the first mistake, they can struggle to break teams down. And so, if it's them as a result of the intensity and the pressure that Cheltenham put them under, I feel like this could be a tough afternoon for Fleetwood. So, I'm going with Cheltenham on this one, despite recent performances.
Okay, then. So it's Cheltenham draw no bet versus Fleetwood at 5-4 for Gab with Bet365. Then, and just to round things off for me in League Two, we can stay in that part of the world in Gloucestershire, although they are technically on the road. But I just wanted to use that crossover. I'm going to go for Swindon to beat Newport 4-5. They've done me a good turn last week against.
They're
Bromley.
actually in Wiltshire, Matt, not Gloucestershire.
Technicalities. It's all the same down there. I've been down there enough times with the horse racing. It's all the same thing. But one of my favourite ever stories, just to give you a little story back, actually, was from one of my favourite stories from this part of the world. And I don't have many, admittedly. I was coming back from Cheltenham Festival, and I'd stayed overnight. And the same day, Swindon were playing Carlisle. But for a different arrangement, I couldn't go to the game. I was gutted. So I was on my early train back, and I had some Swindon fans sat in front of me, and they were just talking about what a comfortable victory it would be for Swindon. So the delight I took in Carlisle beating them 4-0, even though I wasn't there, was fantastic. All I talk about
that was Richie Wellens had just taken charge of Swindon, hadn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. So I took a lot of pleasure in that, even though I wasn't there. It certainly softened the blow missing the game. But I think, look, Swindon, they've got to be started to be taken very seriously here in League Two this season. I had some reservations about them coming into the campaign. It must be said, I know you did as well, Gab, with Ian Holloway and his ability to kind of, lead a promotion and a title charge, if you will. Sure. I traditionally would see him as a firefighter and an impact manager, and had big worries about how his spell at Grimsby had turned out and stuff like that. But he's answering the questions. They're playing some really good football. They're getting a lot of good results, scoring a hell of a lot of goals. And they travel to a Newport side here who, although I've described them many times on the show as my bogey team, who always seem to sting me when I take them on, you do have to look at the table and be realistic here. 22nd out of 24, struggling, as I expect them to and anticipate them to. I always feel like Newport at the moment, it's a battle to survive in League Two. I don't really have any faith in them to sort of push on, towards the top half and a playoff contender at the moment. And it just feels like a great game to me. I'm going to keep it very simple. Great game for me to Swindon to keep up the momentum here. I think 4-5 is absolutely fine. I'm going against Gab's quoted rule of don't back odds on away teams in the EFL, maybe to my peril. But to me, Gab, I looked at a few angles in League Two and I just thought, I'm going to just keep it simple here. This is a team flying against a team struggling. And I think they've shown themselves more than capable on the road, Swindon. Score a hell of a lot of goals. I think that gives them a great chance here.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I've been impressed by Swindon as well. Like you said, I had my reservations about them, but I think they've got so many routes to creating chances. I like Joe Snowden, the right wing back they've got. I think he's got lots of pace and is very exciting going forward. And then Finlay Munro on the other side, who I think's got a lovely eye for a pass. And then they've got Gavin Kilkenny at the base of midfield, who can conduct things. They've got Tom Nichols, who's I think having a lot more joy since he's been converted into more of a deeper midfielder rather than a forward, because he's never been a huge prolific goal scorer. And then they've got attacking players like Aaron Drinan, who's a very strong runner. They've got Ollie Palmer, who's got that physical target man presence, and Butterworth, who's more of a mobile sort of drifting, kind of getting in between the lines kind of player. So they've got all different types of players and ways of hurting teams. And I think that variety really impressed me against Bromley last week. And I think that could do the business for them at Newport. So yes, maybe we'll be presenting Ollie with our humble pie.
Maybe we will. I'll admit it, I'm kind of pro Swindon now. I've just accepted that I maybe got them wrong, and I like teams to score a lot of goals and have a good distribution of the goals as well. I just think it bodes very well, particularly in a league like League Two, to not be reliant on one or two performers, if you will. So yeah, that rounds up our bets this week. All there is to do is to sum things up then, Gab. We'll start with just to run you through as well. My treble is 9.9 to 1, just shy of 10 to 1 with Betfred. Gab's is 11.5 to 1 with Sporting Index. So we've both gone quite conservative compared to previous weeks, but I think I'm looking at all 6 picks. I've said this before. I like them all. So let's see how many of them actually come in. But just to wrap things up, Gab, I'll pull your selections up first, mate, and let me get rid of those banners so we can see what we're talking about. You've gone for Southampton to beat Derby at 6-5 with BetMGM, Plymouth to beat Wigan at 8-5 with Betfred, and Cheltenham draw no bet versus Fleetwood 5-4 with Bet365. That treble pays 11.5 to 1 at Sporting Index. What would be your best bet of the weekend, Gab?
I think I'm going to use my first-hand viewing, trust that, and trust the eye test. That's what it is, and go with Plymouth Argyle at 8-5 because I saw how good they were last week, and I think if they can repeat the trick, I think that 8-5 is going to look very tasty.
Biggest price of the 3, but I'd be honest, I'd be going the same. To be honest, I do like it, and I think adding that Wigan have yet to find a win on the road, and it just sweetens it a little bit more. It's a long old journey down there, isn't it? For me, Stoke to beat Blackburn 19-10 for a point. Bolton half-time, full-time versus Peterborough, odds against 23-20. And Swindon keeping it safe to beat Newport at 4-5. And the treble pays 9.9 to 1, effectively 10 to 1 at Betfred. Of my 3,
I think Stoke to beat Blackburn is
I
really
think the price is just I sound boring saying it, but if it was 6-4, I'd think that was about right. So I think for that margin, I've got to say
I think I would pitch a double to people of Plymouth Argyle and Stoke. I'd be interested to know how much you could get for that, but I think you'd get a fair whack for that.
Wow,
so.
Gab, you do love putting me on the spot. But
sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
No, I'm joking. I think I can work that out for you quite quickly. That's why
it's
8-5
and 19.
Plymouth are a best price of 8-5, and Stoke are a best price of 19-10. Of course, we'll have to see who's actually offering the best price on that double. It is Betfred again, and they are 13-2 on the double. 15-2 on the double, so even better. That is, it's a big price double there, Plymouth and Stoke, if you want to back our naps this weekend. Well, that is all from us on the EFL Betting Show this week. I hope you've enjoyed following along. Let us know what you're backing in the tips or in the social media comments. And thanks, as always, for watching. Keep it with oddsnow.com ahead of the footballing weekend. We've got loads of betting previews and tips on there. Do gamble responsibly if you're having a flutter this weekend. Myself and Gab will be back next week. No, we won't, Gab, because it's internationals. So we do have some special columns lined up from Gab next week. So all the more reason to head over to oddsnow.com. He's going to be doing his reviews of the Championship, League One and League Two so far, star performers and those in need of a bit of improvement. So Gab, I'll see you again probably in a fortnight. Enjoy your various trips. Let us know if you get to that Cheltenham game.
I will. I'll keep you updated.
Okay. And we'll see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.
Bye.